On the final day of February, the world witnessed the biggest gamble of a political career when a multi-theater war commenced in the Middle East. The broadcast started with a kaboom, a fitting metaphor for the day the stabilizers of the world decided to blow up the status quo. While the news told you the global economy was bracing for impact, the reality was that it was already buckling under the weight of a geopolitical ego trip. The planners were obsessed with the 2003 benchmark, trying to outdo the shock and awe of Iraq. They dropped double the munitions, launching 2,000 airstrikes in just 6 days to turn the personal compound of an 86-year-old man into a sea of fire. They called it decapitation, but it was an invitation for chaos that included the first U.S. submarine kill since WWI, because nothing says progress like modernizing 80-year-old destruction. Why now? Because they saw Iran as a carcass ready for picking. The wheel of misfortune was spinning. Water resources were dry, the economy was in free fall, and the regime had just finished massacring up to 30,000 of its own people. The West didn't intervene for human rights. They sensed maximum vulnerability and struck while the blood was still fresh on the streets, using a red line as a convenient excuse for an invasion they'd been planning for months. Iran's response? If they were going down, they were taking everyone with them. They hit the uninvolved, Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, firing 180 missiles at Israel and 250 at the Gulf states on day one alone. It wasn't a defense, it was a suicidal tantrum designed to make the rest of the world feel their pain, resulting in UAE facing nearly 1,000 kamikaze drones by day 5. Suddenly, the impenetrable Gulf was running dry, not of oil, but of interceptors. They were burning through missiles at 5 times the rate of the first Gulf War. The secret is out. Defense is a billionaire's game, and the Gulf states are starting to realize they can't afford the bill for a war they didn't even start. When replacements take years and billions, the question, what gets defended next, becomes a deadly lottery. The Strait of Hormuz became a graveyard for global trade. 1/3 of the world's oil was trapped behind a wall of naval mines. 3,000 ships sat like sitting ducks, while natural gas prices in Europe spiked 70%. It turns out our modern economy is just a very fragile bottle with a very explosive cork. The superconnector hubs, Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi, became ghost towns. 18,000 flights were canceled in a week. And the official U.S. advice to its million citizens trapped in the region? Take a bus to Egypt. It's the ultimate punchline. Sorry you're in a war zone. Have you tried the scenic route through the desert? The war started bouncing around like a pinball. A missile hits Azerbaijan, NATO starts whispering about Article 5 in Turkey, the UK opens up its bases. Most recklessly, the US pulled anti-air assets from South Korea, leaving it wide open just to feed the fire in the Middle East. It's military robbing Peter to pay Paul, assuming North Korea doesn't notice the out-of-office sign. Now we get to the real nightmare. Water. Iran is eyeing the desalination plants. If they hit those, the 7 million people in Riyadh have 1 week to evacuate before they die of thirst. This isn't a war for land or oil anymore. It's a fight for the right to exist in a desert that's about to get very dry. The CIA decided to play God with a jigsaw map, arming Kurdish militias to march into Iran. They're gambling on regime change, but the reality is balkanization. They risk turning a nation of 92 million into a Yugoslav-style ethnic slaughterhouse just to see if the pieces fit differently. The escalation roulette landed on Karg Island, the prize that handles 90% of Iran's oil. They want to seize it with boots on the ground. But the reality? Those Marines would be live targets for kamikaze drones while the world watches the oil price climb to the moon. It's a tactical win that guarantees a global economic collapse. Trump is now on a tiny island surrounded by sharks. Option A, back down and look weak, infuriating Israel. Option B, push forward and guarantee a global economic crash with a 27% approval rating. It's a tactical victory that has resulted in a strategic checkmate. There is no local war anymore. In 7 days, they broke the supply chains, closed the skies, and rewrote the map with fire. They thought the regime was weak, but they forgot that desperate people do desperate things. Welcome to the new world. Hope you brought your own water.